Good evening. If you would please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here, maybe a moment of silence for the...
It's on the agenda, sir.
Okay.
If you would, before we start our meeting, joining us in a moment of silence, our former firefighter, Tom Hunt, which is the father of our current fire chief, Thomas Hunt. We lost Thomas this week, and I ask you to please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching. This is the Wednesday, April 19th, 2017 Board of Selectmen meeting. And I'd first like to thank my colleagues on the board at Eldon and Anthony for the vote of confidence and making me chairman for the year. I think we're going to have a very productive year, and we're going to keep West Bridgewater great. So first thing on the agenda, warrants, Board of Selectmen business, antique license renewal. Mallory?
Hello. The antique licenses are up for renewal. They expire April 30th, so mostly everybody returned their paperwork, and there were a couple of businesses that needed to complete some things on their inspection, but I've been working with the building inspector to make sure that's all set. So if you would please approve these, if that's your nature, subject to a successful completion of a building inspection and successful paperwork
Fire and building.
filing.
Okay.
So moved.
Second?
Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night, Mallory. Thank you. Act on Warren Turner, Precinct 1 election warden resignation. As you know, Warren served in this position for many, many years, and he is retiring. It's going to be tough going to the elections without seeing Warren. It's been so many years. Do I have a motion to accept the resignation? Do
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
With a letter of thanks.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, joining us is our town clerk, Annie Iannatelli. Annie, I believe you have a recommendation from the Republican Town Committee as well as yourself for replacing the warden?
Yes. Do you want me to come up there?
No, you're fine, I think. Ben, can you pick her up? Okay, you're good.
When we found out that Warren was retiring, we sent a letter, the Board of Registrars sent a letter to the Republican Town Committee to give us nominations to take his place. We received one name, Peter Turner. So we're putting that forward to you guys to appoint him as the new warden of Precinct 2.
Annie, can you give a really quick education on what the election warden does?
Yeah, the election warden, he runs the election. He's in charge of opening and closing the polls, making sure that people obey the 150-foot rule for the candidates, making sure that every voter has their legal right to vote, making sure that they have the proper equipment if they need extra help. And at the end of the night, they sign off on all the elections and tally the votes and give it to the ballot so they can come up with the results.
And each party has one rep, or how's that?
Yes, we have, right now in Precinct 1, we have Marilyn Raleigh, who is a Democrat, and then we would have Peter Turner, who would be a Republican, because it requires that we have
Great.
one of each.
Okay, very good. Do I have any motions for the appointment?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank you, Annie. Act on the resignation of Beth Anderson from the ADA Committee. I did speak to Beth yesterday. I think Beth's done a great job for the town, and she served the town well. She says her business is doing really well. If you don't know, she owns the Swedish bead shop on Route 106, just past Hockomock. And she said business has been really great. It's taken up more of her time, and other than that, there's no reason for her resignation. She wishes she had time for both. So I recommend we accept her resignation with a letter of thanks.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next is Southeastern Regional Budget Recommendations. Is someone, a representative coming in tonight?
They will not be here.
Okay.
Quite frankly, they were originally going to be here at the last meeting, but we ended up not doing budgets in preparation for a special town meeting.
Okay.
So we just placed it on here so the board could review it. You will see under the tab for Southeast Regional School that their request is $5,78,000. which is about $78,000 more than what it was last year. However, which is a 15.5% increase. However, their enrollment is up about the same. So, and just so the board knows and all those watching know as well, is that we have to make sure that we comply with foundation spending, which is the bare minimum, and they're at the bare minimum. So this is the minimum request based on their approved budget from the town of West Bridgewater.
Okay.
So we got, what, 6 more students than we had?
Yep, let's take a peek.
I think Anthony said that.
Yes, 6 more.
Yeah.
Yep, 6.
Have they presented to the Finance Committee?
No,
Okay.
they've not.
Do I have a motion do I have any other questions on the budget?
No.
Okay, do I have a motion to pass on to the Finance Committee?
Moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approval of the FY18 operational budget. David?
Yep, so you will see on page 8 in your packet is that I have an executive summary before you. We have balanced our FY18 budget. Again, I'm making a recommendation that we only budget a 1.5% increase, which would be our 4th budget in a row that we did not raise to 2.5. And if growth keeps coming in as well as it is, we may not even have to raise it to 1.5. The operational budget is a 4.25% year-over-year budget. It represents a $1.3 million increase year-over-year. But truthfully, about $1.2 million of that is really from 4 budgets. One from benefits, our local schools, the police department, and Southeast Regional. We just discussed Southeast Regional. We're at foundation budget. It is what it is. The police department, the majority of that, $40,000 of it, has to do with the dispatch center. The benefits is really driven more by healthcare costs than anything else, and we all know that healthcare costs are a real issue. And at $453,000, although that's a large dollar amount for the schools, that's a 3.9% increase. And the reality is that they have some pressures that are difficult with their school placement children. So, but out of that $1.3 million, almost all of it is those 4 budgets. Notable, I wanted to make sure that the board was aware, is that the debt line is decreasing. That's because we have paid cash for all of our capital budget items the last couple of years. So our interest line, for example, is down $55,000 year over year, so that's a positive. We do have 1 new hire placed in the budget. I'm going to go over the itemized list with you in a moment, but that is in reference to a facility manager that the board has discussed. The consolidation of staff in library and COA, their FTEs will change a little bit because they're getting rid of some 2 part-timers to have 1, in some cases, 1 full-timer to have 2 part-timers. And then in the assessor's office, they're going, hopefully, or the recommended budget is to go from a part-time principal assessor to a full-time. And as already noted, is that the public safety is looking to fund a dispatch center. On page 2, again, I want to inform the board that the budget that I'm presenting to you tonight reflects the anticipated contractual raises. We have made offers to all the unions. We have not settled yet, but I have funded what the offer is, so we have the money. That way we don't have to go back to town meeting at a later date once it's approved. And it also reflects the actual raises that you, the board, have already approved for all your non-union contractual employees. The budget does not rely on any of our free cash money to balance, so we can now use all of that money to pay for our capital budget items and put the rest in the bank, as we have done over the past 3 years. In the Finance Committee Reserve Fund, which is $67,000, before I came here, it used to be 30 to 35. It is now fully funded at 67 in case there's an issue or problem during the year. My revenue numbers, I continue to remain conservative with them, so that way if we have a drop-off, we don't have an issue, and it allows us to continue to generate free cash. And as noted earlier, the free cash will be used to pay for capital budget items, go in the bank, and I anticipate recommending a budget to you as well, that $350,000 will come off the school debt as it has the last 3 years to help defray the cost to the taxpayer. So that's the executive summary. On page 10, you will see that there is an itemized list of all the individual budgets. So, Mr. Chairman, would you like to just review it? Would you like me to just go through the changes? What would you prefer me to do?
I'd like just to hear your recommendations, any changes that you're recommending that were outside of the budget presentation that we've already heard, and that will bring us to the balanced budget.
Will do. So, you'll see budget 1220, Board of Selectmen. The facility manager was recommended at $25,000. I reduced it by $5,000 to be at $20,000. Truthfully, I'm not so sure we can do it at $20,000, but I was looking to try to save money. And I also know it's a split board as to whether or not we should hire one or not. The assessors, there were two changes. One is that there was a math mistake in the clerical salary, so I had to increase it by $2,500. And then I reduced $1,000 out of equipment, and that has already been approved by the principal assessor. Town council, I reduced it by $5,000. And information systems, I reduced it by $250. The Board of Appeals and the Rent Control Board, I increased it by 2.25% on the secretarial, because this board will, next meeting, you will take a vote as to what you will be willing to pay all those secretaries. You usually do what you do for the department heads, which is 2.25% this year by right. Town hall, I reduced by $756. I've had a conversation with the building inspector, so he's aware. The police department was requesting $50,000 for dispatch. I reduced it down to $40,000, and they had $3,000 additional in electricity, so I reduced that. The fire department did not fund for any of the anticipated contractual increases, so I funded it. That's an increase of $34,000. The building inspector,
Can we back up? Why, was that just an oversight?
Yes.
Or was that because of negotiations?
nope, just an oversight.
Okay, so it was salaries that were already negotiated in this coming year of their contract.
Yep, nope, no, this is the fire union, and this is the clerical union. We've made an offer to them.
Right.
We haven't closed on it yet,
Okay.
but we asked all of them to put it in their budgets.
Okay,
And most of them did, but the fire department did not.
okay,
So it'll be funded now once it's approved.
thank you.
The building inspector, if you recall, in line one, he was originally asking for more money. The board has settled his contract, so I reduced that line by $1,100. And then he was also looking to hire an additional secretary in the office and hire an additional inspector, accounting for almost $30,000, so I cut that. If you recall, under gas plumbing inspector and then electrical inspector, which is two down, he was looking for about $9,000 increases for both of those part-time inspectors, and he was also looking to increase a couple of other lines, so I reduced those accordingly. And again, you'll see that I'm recommending to you that you would give both of those inspectors a 2.25% increase, which has been consistent with your past practice. Jump down to forestry. Forestry was looking for $300 and $500. Actually, they were looking for $1,000 in those two lines to increase a couple of their fertilizer lines and some of their other lines. I gave them a little bit of an increase, but reduced it by $300, $500 respectively. Line 5270 is for tree work. He usually gets budgeted at $20,000. He was requesting $30,000. I reduced it by $2,500. It allows him to do more tree work, but it still have some type of an increase. The school department, as noted earlier, I reduced it by $34,000 and had a conversation with the business office manager earlier, so the school is aware. And the rest of them all referred to the highway. Again, the interim superintendent was looking to increase some of his property and vehicle maintenance lines. Although I reduced some of those lines, I did not reduce them at 100% level, so it allows them a little bit of increases in each line for anticipated costs. That, after all additions, and then the library, I'm sorry, the last one, $500. She has historically not gone over her budget in her electricity line, and she still requested an increase, so I level funded it year over year. So after all the subtractions and deductions, that's $82,000 is the net deduction from the budget requests.
All right. Does anyone have any questions?
No, you did a great job.
I think it's important to point out that David's worked individually with all the department heads over the numerous months working on the budgets, and I know you communicate with me and during numerous meetings throughout the months, and the other two selectmen, along with the department heads and the office. So, great job. It's good to see our town departments are working as tight budgets as they can and still producing a great product. So, thank you very much. I think it's a great job on the budget.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to pass on the budget as amended via the recommendation of the town administrator.
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. discuss the maroon and white signs. A lot of people on Facebook and in person at the supermarket and all are really liking the town spirit, that the maroon and white signs, they feel are wonderful in the center of town, and they want to know how they get them for their street. The intent of the maroon and white signs was to identify our downtown, what's considered our downtown district. For the most part, it extends out a little bit. But a lot of people want to know if they can get maroon and white signs for their street, even if they're willing to pay for them. I don't know what the board's thoughts were. I don't want to spend taxpayer money on buying new signs. I think most of them have just been replaced over the last few years to be compliant. I also like the idea that the maroon and white identifies the downtown, but perhaps if a neighborhood or a street wanted to purchase a sign, maybe we could go with white signs with maroon lettering, a little bit different, but still with the town pride colors, and see if that's a possibility.
Any idea what it costs?
I don't know, but that would be up, again, if they wanted to purchase one for their street, we would install it, and the neighborhood would have to cover the cost. Or if there's a street that hasn't been done yet, we're required to have, the letters have to be a certain height. So some of them haven't been done yet. Those could be done if that's what we wish.
I kind of like how the ones in the center are differentiated from the rest.
Well, that's what I was thinking. If we went with white signs with maroon lettering, it would be the opposites, but still the town colors.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it as long as we're not replacing signs that are fine.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm fine with it too.
David, could you see if Sean could get us when we went to the maroon and white signs, they got us a prototype of what it looked like. If you could have him do one for us, for the next meeting, we can look at it, see if he has any issues with it, and we'd make it available to the residents if they'd like their street, whatever the fee is. Hopefully, it's pretty minimal. I love the town spirit, so it's a good thing people want them. I think it's nice. And it's always good to have some good feedback on some things we're doing.
And to be clear, you would be looking for white background and maroon lettering.
Yeah, I agree with Anthony. I like that we differentiate the downtown district with the signs, the maroon and white. So if we did white with maroon,
Fine.
carry on the same spirit. Return of the transfer swap shop, probably about 5 years ago. Swap shop we had at the transfer station was done away with. I met with the acting highway superintendent. He feels that maybe some misinformation was communicated. He didn't think the swap shop was as much work as was communicated to the board, so the board voted to do away with it. I asked him if he could come up with a plan to re-implement the swap shop. For those who don't know what the swap shop is, if you have something good you're getting rid of, it was near at the transfer station, designated for it. If you want it, you take it, it's free. If you have something nice you want to drop off, let someone else take it. Sean, I had advised him that if he could come up with some procedures, some signage and whatnot. Every time I'm up at the transfer station, Richie says, when's that swap shop going to return? Everybody loved it and people are asking for it. Again, I went over what it required for work, and Sean felt it was a good idea to re-implement the program. So because the board voted to do away with it, I think the board would be required to vote to re-implement it.
So moved.
Where would it be?
Last time it was just off to the side. It was just a grass area.
Just off to the
Sean would
side.
like to do some crushed stone or some millings just to give a secure area. He wants to do some signage and whatnot to make sure it works. If it really is successful again like it was before, we're thinking maybe get an Eagle Scout project going to do a small enclosed area, not fully enclosed, but a roofed area. He said he'll work out everything, but I didn't want him to spend too much time if the board wasn't going to endorse it. And, I know before there was some concerns about televisions and whatnot being dropped off. We don't pay to dispose of TVs anymore. People can actually take their televisions to the transfer station. We can dispose of them. So people that are watching, that are looking for a place to dispose of the TVs, they can bring them there. But that was one of the concerns in the past, that people were
that's where I
dropping
was
off
going.
TVs and monitors. But because of our host agreement with a company in town, those are disposed of free. So for a little PSA for that, you can bring your TVs to the dump anytime. And we still have the metal dumpsters down there. But I think it was a great program. And again, if you talk to Richie at the dump, he says everyone's looking for its return. So,
Okay, second.
okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One other thing with the dump, can we also work on seeing if we can implement a fee for large bulk items that can't be taken right now? Couches, mattresses.
That's actually how my discussion started, because I said, why can't they buy a sticker at the transfer station? You put it in your TV and bring it down. Sean says, because it's free now, so who's going to buy a sticker? I'm like, oh, okay. But on that subject, I've been working with Tracy. What I wanted some more PSAs out there on our cable channel and on our Facebook. Things that people may not know, and this could be our next one. We just worked on one, letting people know about temporary pools, inflatable pools. They still have to follow, a lot of people put them up and don't know they have to follow the pool regulations with fencing and all that. So Tracy took care of that and got that bulletin up, and it's just good to pass out the information so we don't wind up with any fatalities in town on drownings or whatnot. But this is just another step, some more PSAs we can work on. Yeah, so some type of a sticker program for larger items.
Yeah.
I did talk to Richie. He said furniture can be disposed of if it's broken up.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Public communications from and reports from boards, commissions, committees, town officials. I don't see any on there.
This is the YA parade on the 29th, I guess,
All right, opening day.
10:30.
All right, I think all of us are marching.
Yeah.
You available?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Correspondence from the public to determine a course of action. One thing that's not on the agenda, I'd just like to mention, we have a young gentleman in town, Justin May, who's not only an Eagle Scout, but a high school senior, and owns a landscape company in town. And there was a lot of discussion in town about how much litter and debris along the side of the on and off ramps to Route 24. Justin got his crew together and went down, did a really good cleanup job. He's only done one ramp, and I think he said there was 18 bags of trash he took out, and that was just on the on-ramp heading north. He plans on doing more if he can. I know we have some options for the prisoners to come in, but notably, it was probably worse than I've ever seen it. And so I just want to thank Justin and his crew for their great work. And so I did a little profile of him on Facebook. So again, just a verbal thank you to Justin. I don't know if the board wants to send him a letter, but it's great that we have such great people in town that just take the initiative and get things done.
Maybe just send them a letter of thanks.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, public comment period. Looks like we have none. Town administrators report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just really two items. One is an update regarding Mayola's Ave. You'll recall that there was a handful of residents here last week that was having a discussion about a group home moving in. Last night, we had a meeting over at the Council on Aging. Selectman Kennahan, Selectman Marrero were both there. And so we met with State Rep Michelle Dubois. She brought in a professional on the subject. We met for about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes. At the end of the day, the residents recognize that the group home has a right to be there. However, during our investigation, it appears that all of the permitting processes have not been followed. So we're going to be working now with the May School to make sure that they become compliant.
Okay, but as far as building permits and their right to operate there, they are in compliance, right?
They have a right to be there, there's no doubt.
I will go on record in saying I was a little embarrassed that that discussion even happened in an open session selectmen's meeting. I think it, again, as my recommendation was, I think it should have been done professionally with our professional staff in the office. It would have been more productive, in my opinion. I hope this is the end of it. I don't think these type of things belong being aired on television or in a public meeting, and I don't think it was productive. And I just hope we move on and don't have any more problems like this in the future.
Right, and the next one is in reference to tomorrow night's special town meeting, which is the purchase of Riverbend Country Club. As the board knows, the whole exclusive reason of the special town meeting is in particular to that. Again, there'll be 3 articles. The warrant has been posted. It's on our online. And last week, we also hosted, Selectman Kennahan and I hosted a informational session. So I wanted to say thank you to Anthony. I mean, Anthony, it was very helpful. We worked really well together on it. We did a lot of work. And honestly, we've received a lot of positive feedback.
I think we have, yeah.
So,
Thank you.
I want to say thank you for your help. And So we have taken the PowerPoint presentation, we have placed it on the website. The entire video is on the website as well. The video is 2.5 hours long. I think it's a little enthralling, but what do I know? But for people who want to spend 15 to 20 minutes to get educated, I would strongly recommend that they take a look at the PowerPoint presentation. It's your town. There are a lot of people that are for it. There are some people that are against it. I understand all the reasons why for both. But I think in the hope that at the end of the day, that however the vote goes tomorrow, that the vote is based on all the facts. And there are a lot of good facts out there. And take the opportunity to be able to educate themselves. Obviously, all of us will be there tomorrow evening and be able to speak to it. Again, just to reiterate, special town meeting will be tomorrow night at 7 PM in the school auditorium.
I apologize I wasn't able to be there, but I was probably the only one watching the presentation live from 35,000 feet in the air, flying over our great country. And I will say that both of you did a spectacular job. And while I was viewing it, I could see how many other people were watching. At one point, there were 78 people in town watching, or 78 people watching the presentation. Anyone could watch it. I imagine people from other parts of the country weren't watching your presentation. The comments were great. People could comment on the videos and on the live feed. There were a few little glitches where, it would cut on and off, but all in all, I got to watch the entire presentation through the live feed, and so want to thank Ben for making that available at our cable company, and it was really spectacular. And I've always been in favor of it, but I learned a lot more through the presentation, even things that I didn't know. I'm not just in favor of it for 40B reasons, whatever. I think it's a spectacular asset to have in town, other than also keeping the open space. You both just did a spectacular job, and it's very, very important that we got the facts out, and a lot of people were misinformed. I even had a few people tell me they took their signs down that didn't know anything about it until they watched the video and went to the presentation, because someone asked them to put up a sign, so they said yes. After watching the presentation, they were pretty enthusiastic about the whole process. So thank you both very much.
Well, thank you.
All right, is there anything else to come before the board?
I have none.
Motion to adjourn?
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, thanks for watching.